assisting the South Guildford Action Committee to try and fight the rezoning of the golf course. I think it's probably important that everybody realises exactly what stage of the process we're at and where we can actually have an impact. The way the planning rules work are that the proponents of the development have submitted an application to the West Australian Planning Commission. The West Australian Planning Commission sought Council's advice regarding that, and Council recommended that it be put out for public comment. That doesn't mean that Council have recommended in favour of the rezoning. It simply means that the City of Swan have recommended that we get some public comment. We're anticipating in the next few days that the West Australian Planning Commission will release the rezoning application for public comment, and that public comment period will stay open for about 60 days. It's that point in time where everybody here at the very least, and your brothers and sisters and grandmothers and mothers and cousins and friends, really need to put in a public submission. Now, John's quite right that for those of you that are technically minded and you know a bit about planning and environment, or you just feel strongly about the impact that it will have on the area, let's get that in. But also don't underestimate what the strength of public opinion can do in these things, because the way it works is this. The WA Planning Commission will receive all of those submissions in the next 60 days from anybody who wants to make one. It will then make a recommendation to the Minister for Planning, John Day. And that recommendation will either be to rezone the golf course urban, in which case all of that will go and housing will come, or the recommendation will be for it to continue as rural. John Day, as the Minister for Planning, makes the ultimate decision, and that decision is not challengeable. Now, the good thing is, or the bad thing is, that the WAPC are more technically minded and are interested in more arguments around what it will do for traffic and schools and water and power and all those sorts of things. John Day, on the other hand, is a politician and is required to take into account the strength of public opinion. And having been involved in politics for a very long time, I can tell you that turnouts like this are really, really important when it comes to laying down that foundation for public opinion. And so as we move forward, if there are any more rallies or there are any more requirements to get a show of strength, please can we just ask you, I know it's difficult, particularly on a Sunday, everybody wants to spend time with their family and do things, but when you can turn out like this, it actually has an impact. And so we expect after 60 days, WAPC will make the recommendation to the Minister, and then in due course the Minister will make a decision about the rezoning. I think it's important that we all sing from the same hymn sheet, and the first part of that is that that's a private business owned by private individuals, and it's no good us telling them that they must keep their private business open. That's a decision for them. We are simply saying that it's zoned rural. It's been zoned rural for 50 years. When everybody bought their properties in this area, they bought their property next to a block of land that was zoned rural. Forget about the use of the land for now. And all we're simply saying is we don't want to have the opposite zoning, having purchased and built our properties next door to a block with a rural zoning. Forget the fact it's a private business. They can turn it into a cow paddock if they want to. That's their choice. We're simply saying leave it rural. And just on that point, it's also important to note that nobody here is trying to remove an existing right from the owners of that golf course. They don't have an existing right. They have a block of land that's zoned rural. Presumably they paid a rural price for it all those years ago. They don't have an urban zoned block of land. So it's not like a typical community versus developer fight where the developer already has the right zoning and he's about to proceed with his development. That's typically when a community gets fired up. This is very different. We are not seeking to remove a current right that the owner of the golf course has. We're simply stopping them from winning lotto at our expense, because that's what it's like for them. $40, $50, $60 million payday for them, and the ramifications for us as landowners. I use the royal we because I'm not a landowner, but the ramifications for us is that our properties will probably be devalued by 15 to 20%. So at least. So if we can just try and wrap our arguments around those key points, it means we're all sort of singing from the same hymn sheet and we've got a bit of collective strength about us. So